didn't know, we found out this week we're having a little girl. You can see all over Facebook. We're open for name suggestions. Again. We have boy names picked out. They have girl names picked out. All right, chapter 9, we'll finish this up today. That was taking us a while. I told you 4 or 5 weeks ago, this is my favorite stories, favorite events. I like all the stories, favorite events that happen in all scriptures. It's been lots of time talking about it. So, chapter 9 deals with the covenant, and I'll go ahead and put both points up here so you kind of see where we're going. First 17 verses deal with the covenant and the rainbow, which we're going to spend some time talking about today, especially in the month of June. And we don't call it the rainbow, it's a little bit different, but that idea has been under attack. It has been since 1978. And we're going to deal with a little bit of that today. And then the sin of Noah too, which this 11th verse section here that's in the back part of chapter 9, dealing with up to this point, like chapter 7, 8, you see Noah, and Noah's just been like the dude, right? He's just been the guy, just a picture of faith, a picture of steadfastness, a picture of faith in God. We see him slip, and it's important. I think it's either for a reason, a very specific reason. So we've seen God's judgment of sin, and we're going to see God's judgment, not judgment of Noah, but the grace that he gives to Noah. And the Noah the realization that even stewards of faith here know he even slips sometimes too. But God is gracious to bring him kind of back into the fold. That's what we're going to spend today looking at, and we get this finished up today. So, God's covenant with Noah, starting in chapter 9. Now, this is kind of just to put us in the mindset of where we're at. Flood's over with. It's been quite the event for Noah and his family. I'm sure the water heated up because the underwater volcanoes, and the ark probably got hot, and all those animals that were in there, and the rain beating down, the winds whipping around, whirling, and the boat tossing and turning, and all the stuff that's happening, constant earthquakes. It's been quite a life-changing event for Noah and his family in a lot of ways. The world they live is now different. The fact they were on that boat for that long and a lot of stuff was happening would have been probably pretty eye-opening and life-changing. But now as they're getting ready to walk off the ark, and God gives this covenant, we mentioned last week the world they step onto now is entirely different than what they knew before. Okay? So a little bit of stuff we went over last week, just kind of a recap and kind of put us back in the mindset of where we need to be for verse 11, which we're going to spend some time at today. So verse 1 here, chapter 9, and God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, upon all the fishes of the sea, into your hand are delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. But the flesh with life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require, at the hand of every beast will I require. And at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother, will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for the image of God made man. And you, be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, and behold, I establish with you my covenant, with you, and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of the flood, neither shall there be any more flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me me and the earth. And it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, This is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all the flesh that is upon the earth. So the flood's now over. Chapter 9 opens up here with Noah giving God giving Noah and his family the commandment to be fruitful and to multiply and to fill the earth. Therefore, everyone on the earth since the time of the flood comes from the lineage of Noah and his son and their wives. And I mentioned this last week. I want to mention it to you again because I think it's a very interesting point that population scientists, people who study lineages and 23andMe and all the stuff you see, can trace all the DNA of every person on the earth back to 3 markers. In our DNA, we have one of 3 markers that trace back to either one of Noah's 3 sons, and I don't think I have one here. It was one of the other maps that I had. But I've got a map somewhere. I should have brought that. Think about it just now. That shows where the descendants went and kind of how each one of us descends from either one of the 3 sons. But again, I mentioned this last week, but we all have one of those 3 markers. Scientists can explain why that is the case. We can explain it in Scripture. Again, you can see right here, specifically God says that be fruitful and multiply the world with other people, right, other than Noah's family. So we all are one big, huge family, distantly related. We have each one of the 3 mitochondrial DNA markers in our DNA that lines us to one of the 3 sons, which again, I think is really interesting and really neat that we can see evolutionary scientists say it definitely happened. It definitely come from 3 lines of people that can't explain why. So God tells them to do that, and of course they did that. That's why we're here today. God used the occasion of the flood to bring some relief from the effects of the curse. And we mentioned this a little bit last week, up before the flood now. So we got from the curse to the flood. Animals were not afraid of people. We mentioned this last week. They would mainly would have been scared of animals. Now we see the effects of God saying here, now the animals are going to be scared of you all. You have dominion over them. They're there for you to eat. We're supposed to harvest those animals to give us sustenance. God tells us that. We're supposed to harvest plants and things to give us sustenance as well. God tells us that in these verses. So the taking of the lives of animals for what we do for different reasons, and we see today a lot of times that animals' lives are taken more importantly than the lives of people, which is just a complete reversal of what we see here in Scripture. But people are authorized now to eat the meat from animals. The only thing God tells them not to do, of course, is to eat the blood. Verse 5, we see God's institution of the first government, starting with anyone that commits murder. We see an eye for an eye here in verse 5. And surely your blood and your lives are required, and their beasts are required. At the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother, I require the life of man. So we see kind of the beginnings of government set up here to help rule over man. And anyone that commits murder must forfeit his own life in payment as that. And that God puts that in there to show the importance of human life, right? It's very specifically in there. God has it in there for a reason to show that the life is created in His image. We are created in His image, therefore our lives are very, very important. And we spent plenty of time talking about the importance of life. We get down to verse 11, and God makes the covenant here with Noah and the entirety of humanity, right? Even us, God even makes the covenant with us here. That He's never going to destroy the world again with the flood. Tells us that. I will establish my covenant, never going to destroy the earth with a flood or with water. And we mentioned this a little bit last week. I talked about it, the idea of climate change and climate crisis, as it was talked about this week during the debates, coming in, flooding some stuff over. It's not going to happen. We're not going to see that take place. God tells us it's not going to happen. God is going to destroy the world. We know that. Pastor Rob will eventually get to that in Revelation with fire and brimstone. But He's not going to destroy it with water. And He sets up the sign here of the rainbow. Now, and it's a reminder to us, and a reminder of God's promise that sin, first of all, does need judgment. That's what the rainbow is there for, first of all. It's a reminder of the covenant that sin needs judgment. Right? If we have sin in life, God's going to judge it. It's also a reminder of God's promise that He's not going to destroy the world again with the floods. The covenant is there. Now, the question has been asked a lot of times, and if you look at some of the stuff from the Creation Institute research and Answers in Genesis, were there rainbows before the flood? Ken Ham is a pretty good writing, I guess. He gives a pretty good, I can't think of a word for it off the top of my head, essay on rainbows before the flood. He is a proponent that thinks that there probably were rainbows before the flood, in that God just took the rainbow that was already there and repurposed it for His covenant. And he likens it in a lot of ways to the cross, because there were crosses before Jesus died on the cross, right? But God then took the cross and repurposed it for a symbol of our salvation. It's a really interesting read. I'm not saying he's right or wrong. Ken Ham is very much more intelligent than I am. He's got a lot of research kind of behind it. It kind of says that there probably were rainbows there before. It probably wasn't the first one that showed up. There's some that say they weren't, right? Because the cloud cover, the water canopy that was there, and there wasn't any rain or anything. That were never rainbows before. We could generate a rainbow in here if we wanted to with a CD or a light or something. It's pretty easy to make. So I'm leaning more towards there probably were rainbows around. Didn't happen after rain, obviously, but the colors were there. We could have seen the reflection off the water and stuff. It probably happened. God just, the first kind of big, huge one, kind of repurposed it for this covenant. And of course, we know if you mention rainbow today, just in the general public, if I go to school on August the 2nd and tell the kids and ask the kids, what's a rainbow? What does a rainbow mean? I would dare to say 70% of them tell me that it's the symbol for the Pride movement, which we have seen a lot of in the news this month because June is Pride Month. And they have taken the idea of God's covenant and they have changed it and used it for their own good or their own symbol, and using it for something that was not in any way was it supposed to be useful. And I've got a couple things I want to read to you. And this is pretty interesting and kind of stuff that I didn't know. I had an idea about, but I didn't know kind of went this far. And you're going to see some pretty interesting things here I've kind of put together. Of course, forever from this time forward, the rainbow's been a symbol of God's promise. It dates back to this covenant that we see here in Genesis chapter 9. Places the rainbow in the sky, and we just read that and saw the important covenant. And the rainbow, that covenant is a lot of things. Rainbow of remembrance. He put it there as a reminder of His covenant. Rainbows had appeared. One of the things that Haley and I, even now after a good rain, we like seeing a good rainbow. It's out, especially a really good one that comes across. It's just really interesting. It's really neat to see that happen. And as a reminder, of course, what God said to Noah, but just the fact is that it happens here. I think it's just really, really neat. So rainbows have appeared in the clouds, and they are there as a sign for all of mankind to remind us again the justice of God's judging sin, and also His mercy and grace as a way of being saved from that sin. Okay, like He did with Noah and his family. In addition to seeing the rainbow, the variety of multicolors that are there remind us of the splendor of heaven, remind us of the beauty of God's creation as well, and the glorious radiant colors around the throne that we'll see later on when Pastor Rob gets to Revelation chapter 4. We see the colors of the rainbow there as well, just kind of show the colors and the glories of it. Now it's interesting because the fact that we as humans can recognize rainbows is one of the many things that separates us from animals. The cones and irises that are in our eyes, we have millions of them, and they allow us to recognize colors. All animals can recognize colors, but not all of them recognize them like we do. That makes sense. So while the animals may see the rainbow, they don't see all the colors like we do. That is another thing that God innately gave us in the way He developed our eyes. We can see all 7 of those colors of a really good rainbow. which again just shows the sovereignty of God, shows His beauty, His creation, and His gifts. Now, that's God's use for the rainbow, and that's the original and intended purpose of it. Man has used some uses for the rainbow as well, and rainbow flags. When we talk about man's use, we talk about rainbow flags, because we see a lot of those. In the late 1400s, Thomas Munzer, who was a Christian Reformed preacher, preached while holding a rainbow flag in his hand. Okay? Anytime he preached, anytime he gave any type of speech or anything, he held a rainbow flag in his hand. There's actually a statue of Thomas Munzer holding that rainbow flag in Stolberg, Germany. In the 16th century, during the German Peasant War, the rainbow flag was an image the rainbow flag had an image with peasants' boots on it as well, and that was used to represent hope for social change for the peasants that were not living in very good situations back in the 1600s. There's also quite a bit of evidence for a pre-Columbian rainbow flag. There's evidence for a Buddhist rainbow flag, a rainbow flag that represented the cooperative movement in the 1920s, a rainbow flag that represented the peace movement in the 1960s. The rainbow colors flags were also used by Benny Orr, who would have been part of the Jewish movement in 1961, and the Jewish Autonomous Oblast, which was another Jewish movement in 1996. It's also part of the Ecuadorian and Russian political parties. They use the rainbow flag as well. Okay, so it's not just the LGBTQIP plus community that is using the rainbow flag. It's been used now for quite some time. Now, it wasn't until 1978, and up until this point, let's make this statement. Up until this point, even the using of the rainbow flag, the purpose of it was for good. Okay, and it was used in a way to it was still thought of as God's covenant. Okay, that was a reminder for people that was why it was there. Right? It was used in a good light. Let's put it that way. 1978, though, things kind of changed, and that's when San Francisco artist, also a drag queen, named Gilbert Baker, he popularized the multicolored flag as a symbol of the homosexual community. Okay, which today has broadened into again all the letters of the alphabet that are there now that they're identifying. We won't get into that. Before that, the symbol of the gay movement. Okay, before they used the flag, the symbol of the gay movement was a pink upside down triangle. Okay, does anybody know where the pink upside down triangle came from? Some of you older folks may know this. I did not. This was interesting. In concentration camps, if the Nazis knew there were homosexuals there, they would put them in their own building and put a pink triangle over it. That was how they justified, or notified, not justified, wrong word, but notified that the homosexuals were in concentration camps. Okay, that was the symbol they used up until 1978. And to denote not just gay people, but other sexual deviants as well. Okay, the gay movement up till 1970s reclaimed that pink triangle as their symbol. All right. Now, but again, because of the Nazis and stuff, that pink triangle had some very disturbing connotations. Obviously. All right. So they went to Baker's rainbow flag, which started in 1978. Now, the original rainbow flag had 8 colors. Okay, it had like a hot pink, a red, a yellow, green, indigo, which is a light blue, a dark blue, and a purple. And each one of these 8 bars of that flag, each color represented something. And we won't get into what they represented. It's not important. All right, but each one had a representation of something, part of the gay movement. Now, the San Francisco mayor, George Moscone, who was one of the first openly gay mayors in America, was assassinated in November 1978. And the San Francisco-based flag company began selling these flags with 7 colors instead of 8. Okay, hang with me. I'm getting to a point here. Okay, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and black. And that became the ultimate symbol for the gay community, which it even changed a little bit more. These flags were actually the company's surplus stock they had left over from originally producing flags for the International Order of Rainbow Girls. Okay, so they made these flags for this Order of Rainbow Girls, who was actually a Masonic Youth Girls organization, kind of like the Girl Scouts. All right, so they were using this flag, harmlessly using this flag. They had a surplus, so then they started pumping out these flags after this gay mayor was assassinated. So then that changed, though, because they didn't have all 8 colors that went to 7. 1979, when the flags were ordered for the first Gay Freedom Day parade, the hot pink of the original was too hard to make and very expensive. And the flag also lost one of the other colors as well at that time. So the flag then now only has 6 bars in it. Okay? Again, I'm getting to a point. The LGBT plus flag is not, and let's make this statement today, it's very important, it's not a rainbow flag. It's not. It doesn't even have the same colors as a rainbow. Alright? It's nothing. The LGBT flag may be called by the name rainbow flag, or may be called by rainbow, but it's not God's token of promise to all mankind. It is not a rainbow flag. It is simply just a multicolored flag that the LGBT had used and only has the 6 colors. A rainbow always will have 7 colors. Okay? The flag, of course, only has 6. Now, the rainbow that we have, or the rainbow that we can see that God used, put the specific colors in that rainbow. Roy G. Biv, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And it's also interesting to note that God's rainbow that He used in the covenant has how many colors? 7. And 7 is what? The number of what? Completion, the holy number. The pride flag only has 6 colors, and 6 is the number of man, right? Of sin, of Antichrist. So you can see a great difference, right, between the 7 colors of the rainbow of God's covenant and the 6 colors of the rainbow flag. All right? You can take it, we can break down the colors, we can do all kinds of stuff and show you the difference. But I think the biggest one here is that there are 6 bars in that, which is the mark of man, the mark of the beast. This, of course, is the number of man of 6, which is imperfect, is not holy. Is a lot of times, all throughout scriptures, is represented as sinful and incomplete. But we have the 7 colors of the actual rainbow of God's covenant, which is there, of course, being as the number of completion and the number of holiness. Throughout human history, we find things that are in opposition to God's will are oftentimes just simply counterfeit copies. Such copies might come close, may look similar, maybe even talk about similar, but they always fall short. They're never the same. All false religions have enough truth to sound good, but they teach a subtle lie by twisting the truth. That was Satan's ploy in the garden. He twisted God's word with subtle deception and created confusion and caused Eve to forget God's word and sin. Satan never presents himself in truth as the accuser that he is. Instead, he is able to transform himself into the angel of light, and his minions are able to transform into ministers of righteousness, all with the intent to deceive. They look good, they sing good, they sound good. That's nothing more than a copycat than what the one true God, who God is. God's rainbow created, and it belongs to Him. It has 7 colors. It is interesting enough, according to the dictionary, even the Hebrew word for rainbow, which is keshef, also has 7 letters. We should think of God's rainbow as representing the 7 things: His love, mercy, grace, truth, promises, faithfulness, and of course His long-suffering and patience with sinners like us. Desires of repent and seeking. His true rainbow will never represent, nor can it represent, anything more, or anything, celebrate any type of sinful behavior. So, when you see, and we have seen all month long, the LGBT flag, we've been swinging it around everywhere, never allow it to think and look at it as a rainbow flag. It's not. It falls short in a whole bunch of ways. And especially falls short in what it represents. And we, with other things we kind of mentioned about, I wanted to take some time to kind of tell you that, all right? That rainbow flag, which we're going to see a lot in this 2020 election stuff is going to come up, we're going to see more and more and more and more of this stuff, because it is Satan's way of deceiving people and thinking that something is good when it is not. All right? Let's move to chapter verse 18. And let's look at Noah's foolish sin and we'll finish up. Though God destroyed the wickedness from the earth, all right, at this point we know that sin obviously is still there, still remained. Noah and his son, still sinners. And we see at the end of chapter 9, we get a glimpse of Noah's, some of his failures. Let's just read through the rest of the chapter here and we'll talk about a few things. The sons of Noah that went forth with the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his nakedness of his father, and told his two brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment, and laid it upon their shoulders, and went backwards, and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine, and knew that his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. So Noah then, we see here some failure on Noah's behalf. And these verses, again, are here to remind us that just like us, Noah, even though, again, soldier of faith here, one of the statues of living godly, living righteously, he was also a sinful man, even despite faith, obedience, and here with it. Drank wine, we see here from the vineyards, and he drank too much of it, and he got drunk. And Ham walked in and saw that his father was there. Now, we don't know exactly what happened in this situation, okay? And I don't want to get into a lot of this. But because we've talked about this, I mean, like saying this, but a lot of the homosexuals will use this as a way to show some homosexual behavior that took place. Okay, it did, not the case. All right? But again, they like to take scriptures and twist it into their ways to make things so they don't feel as bad about their sin. All right? We don't know exactly what happened. You know, that Ham saw him, and he went out and told his brothers, and we see his brothers coming in and covering up Noah, and they come in a way that they walked in backwards so they wouldn't see. They didn't want to expose the father of their father, that they showed reverence here and walked in so they would see him naked and laid a cover over him. And then, of course, we see Noah here waking up. But it led to this instance here of Noah falling to sin, getting drunk, and we see that Noah then wakes up and just realizes what's happened, and he uses this opportunity here to pronounce a blessing on the descendants of Japheth and Shem. Okay. Now, the fact that he blessed Japheth and Shem here, this blessing later leads into the Jewish people, who begins over in chapter 12 with Abraham. But we see Noah's failure, and seeing Noah's failure and seeing his sin and seeing exactly what happened here helps us to better understand the grace God shows to Noah and his family for saving them from the flood. Noah, probably the very first person, if we could stand Noah up right here, he would probably be the very first person to tell you that he did not deserve to be on that ark. I guarantee you. Noah, tell us about what happened there. First of all, I did not deserve to be on that ark. I'm a sinful man, and God didn't need to put me on there. But God showed grace to Noah and his family. And he was there because of God's grace. And we see his foolish sin here that happens. We see him then being, because of that sin, and the curse being put on Ham's descendants, which becomes important to us a little bit later on. A little more important to us, we see him blessing Japheth and Shem's descendants. And we see that's there for, I think God put that in there for a very specific reason. Told them to write this down so we can see that even Noah here messed up, realized he was sinful, but God was gracious to him. All right, Noah goes on to live an additional 350 years after presumably, I would assume, we can make this very safe to say that he served the Lord faithfully for 350 years. As we see at the end of Noah's days there, he lived to be 950 years old. It's really, really old. It's almost a whole 1,000 years. And that every one of those days was spent serving God. Spent faithfully serving Him. He had quite a story to tell, right? For 350 years, as his kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids, and all these people started to multiply, he had quite a story to tell. And I would imagine, just knowing from what we knew about Noah, Noah was quick to tell about how God saved his family and was gracious to their family in the events that took place. And he probably shared that inhabitants, that story for 350 years that he was alive to the newly repopulated earth. And we can actually see the evidence of that, because every civilization going forth from this has a story about a worldwide or a local or some type of flood, because Noah and his boys were quick to tell everybody about how God saved his family in the midst of this destruction he put when he had to judge sin. Okay, so that finishes up this lesson. Yeah. So the third point here, take sin seriously. Shall we do it? Share God's grace to everybody in which he did. And we talk about how gracious God was too. All right, so next week we get to jump into chapter 10, and we start looking at the descendants of Japheth and Ham and Shem, and we see something called, the lesson is called for us, 2 plans, 2 results. We had talked about the Tower of Babel and some of the interesting things that happened there. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the day we have today, for the stories of the events that took place in Scripture, Lord, that we can take and learn from and see that even we have disasters in our life that we think are, just completely life-changing. And how you, in the midst of those storms, continue to watch, care, and protect and show us grace. We don't deserve it, are not worthy of it in any way whatsoever, but you're so graciously willing to